Are we supposed to keep the 10 Commandments today? You know, there's debate even among people who say, well, the Old Testament is no longer binding. We still have to keep the 10 Commandments today. And there are a lot of people who say we should keep all of the 10 Commandments, including the Sabbath. And maybe you see the 10 Commandments posted in a school somewhere or on a courthouse. What should we think about the 10 Commandments today? Let's offer 3 quick answers to that. Number 1, Jesus said He would take the entire Old Testament out of the way. In Matthew 5, beginning in verse 17, the Bible says, Jesus speaking, "Do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For assuredly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle will by no means pass from the law till all is fulfilled." Now there's a powerful implication in that passage, that when Jesus fulfilled the law, everything even down to the, if I may, the dotting of the I and the crossing of the T would be done away, and that would include the 10 Commandments. Number 2, the 10 Commandments were part of a covenant that was ratified or covered with animal blood. In Hebrews 10, beginning in verse 1, the Bible said, "For the law," now that would include the 10 Commandments, "having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never with these same sacrifices which they offer continually year by year, make those who approach perfect. For then they would not have ceased to be offered, for the worshipers once purified would have had no more consciousness of sins. But in those sacrifices, there's a reminder of sins every year, for it is not possible that the blood of bulls and goats could take away sins." Meaning, of course, that even the 10 Commandments were covered by animal blood that could not ultimately take away sin. Later in that same chapter, the writer says, beginning in verse 26, "For if we sin willfully after that we've received the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sin," meaning that we've moved away from the redemption now in the New Testament. And then if we drop down to verse 29, he said, "Of how much worse punishment do you suppose will he be thought worthy who's trampled the Son of God underfoot and counted the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified a common thing and insulted the Spirit of grace?" And the writer is warning them about going back under the old covenant. In fact, Paul warned in Galatians 5 and verse 4 of that very thing when he said, "You've become estranged from Christ, you who attempt to be justified by the law, you have fallen from grace. For we through the Spirit eagerly wait for the hope of righteousness by faith." So there's a warning about going under and trying to be justified or lived by a law, including the 10 Commandments, ratified by the blood of animals. Number 3, the law of Moses today teaches us in principle, but it's not binding upon us today, and that would include the 10 Commandments. In Romans 15 and verse 4, the Bible says, "For whatever things were written before time, written for our learning, that we through the patience and comfort of the Scriptures might have hope." Now, are there great things to be learned in principle from the 10 Commandments? Sure. But if we're talking about them being bound upon us today, it's only because whatever is enjoined upon us is in the New Testament today. Is it still wrong to murder? Sure, because the New Testament tells us to, and so on. Hey, thanks for checking out our video, and thank you for your interest in the truth. We hope you have a great day, and may God bless your studies.